What's up, guys? We are live. We are live. We are live. Yeah, a bit of not the best start. I know never is the best start when these live streams. Um, it's always the same. So it was a bit of a clusterfuck. Orcs in the chat. Well, he was a few minutes ago. Hopefully, he's still there. We've got 4 people in the chat. I apologise for I should have started like 10 minutes previous, but shit goes down. Nothing ever works the way it's meant to work. I'm always like, I know it's late in the UK and I should really be on time because at the end of the day, it's like, how can I not organise a 12:15 start? Orc is still here. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. If you're in the chat, please leave a like and please comment just so I know you're there. Orc's here. Leave a like, please. It makes a big difference. Well, it makes a difference to me. I don't think it makes a difference to the algorithm because, 15 likes to 10 likes to 5 likes, it's not going to make much of a difference to the algorithm, but it makes me feel better. It's just a little bit better for me. And no excuse for being 10 minutes late when you live in the UK and it's like a 12:15 start and I'm starting at 12:25. What the fuck am I doing to be late starting at that time? Basically, I was drinking and eating pizza and, so Chris, what's in the chat, man? Chris. I'm Ben Grimm. Ben's in the chat as well. Ben's in the chat. Just got a Morbius. I'm actually going to talk about Morbius, Ben. Don't worry. We'll get to Morbius further down the line. And Chris, what's up, man? Good to see you on board, man. I was going to actually talk about Morbius, not in depth, not really going into too much detail because I've not seen Morbius, but I did want to talk about the sort of negative feedback the film's got, because that film has got so much negative feedback. It's just been insane. It's had so much negative press. That's one of the reasons I wanted to talk about it, but I'll probably talk about that a little bit further down the line. Wait for a couple more people to jump on board. Hopefully, a few people, Cliff Booth in the chat. Does Morbius die? Well, I don't know, Cliff. I have not seen the film. Ben will know. If Ben wants to spoil Morbius, Ben is perfectly free to spoil Morbius in the chat because I don't give 2 flying fucks about that film. I just don't care. That film to me is just. It looks like a clusterfuck. It sounds like a clusterfuck. It's got the ratings of a clusterfuck film. Some people apparently like it. I mean, maybe it's half decent. Maybe I'd like the film. I don't know. It's got really, really, really bad reviews though. I don't know. Maybe it's the work of a genius. It could be. It's probably not. So Morbius is single as fuck. They do tease, don't they? Michael Keaton in this film, but he doesn't really do much. And apparently, there's a separation. They try and link the Morbius universe to the Spider-Man Tom Holland universe, and it's a little bit. It doesn't really make much sense. I don't know. Sean's in the all right. Sean's in the chat. Sean says G.I. Dating 2 shout out. Yeah, G.I. Yeah. But if Will Smith's in the chat, he will slap you, Sean. I'm just going to say that. If Will Smith in the chat, he will find you and he will slap you down. And you deserve it because you're a bigot. Yes, so be careful. Will Smith, he doesn't take no prisoners. So... sorry, I'm listening. Some stuff. Ben says some of the stuff in the trailer is not in the movie. That seems to be a trait which I was totally unaware of up until a few years ago. That they put stuff in trailers that is not in the film. maybe I'm just completely stupid and completely naive. I think I probably am. But trailers where they include stuff which is not even in the film is a thing, and I never knew that. I mean, I know for a fact it is a thing now because watching films over the last 10 years or so and noticing because trailers have become like more of a big deal over the last like 10, 15 years. You know, trailers drop on YouTube and people analyze trailers to death. You know, they just analyze every little aspect of them. Like, remember when before YouTube and so like at the internet where a trailer would drop, you'd watch the trailer, you just watch the trailer and that's it. Now with social media and YouTube and everything, everybody pores over every little detail of every little thing. So when a trailer drops, you kind of pore over every little detail to try and pull every little thing from that film or trailer. And yeah, it's a thing now, which maybe it's always happened, but something I never got onto before the internet was when they put a trailer out, they include stuff that's not even in the film. And I can't remember what film it was that first drew me to that, but going into watching like movie trailers in detail, like, after films have dropped or before films have dropped, and just then going into the film after the trailer and like thinking that never happened. And it's just something like never occurred to me before, social media and the internet, because I always thought like me naively thinking that films, they would drop a trailer and every single aspect of that film, of that trailer, would be in the film. How wrong I was. I mean, how naive I was to believe in like Hollywood and film studios, and I was so dumb, so naive. But it is what it is. Just go back to the chat. I've commented on that, I think. The days when things went overanalyzed and figured out they must have. Yeah, well, I mean, unfortunately, that's just the way it is now, Chris. It is. We're never going to go back to a day before that, unfortunately. Jess is in the chat. That's been going on with trailers for a long time. Good to see you on board, Jess. We don't have any echoing issue. We don't have any echoing tonight. Launch stream the other night. I was like, wanted to jump on. I don't know how echoey it was for you guys, like, who actually in the stream, but when I jumped on, it was just constant feedback. It was constant feedback as soon as it came in the stream. So I just like jumped out, and then I jumped in, and things seemed okay. But then my internet just dropped out completely. So my internet went off. So then I had to leave again and then come back in. And then we had the echoing situation. So it was a bit annoying because it seemed like, when I got in and things were fine, and then my fucking internet fucked up. Oh my God, internet is and wireless internet is just the worst. I mean, if you got wired internet, just use wired internet, use Ethernet cables, because wireless internet is fucking shite. It's good to a point, but when you're trying to do anything like this, wireless internet is just god awful. And I'm in a big built-up area where I'm not in a remote location. I'm in a built-up big area with a lot of people, like 1 million people. So God only knows what it's like for people in remote areas where it's like a few thousand people and you're relying on the internet. How you even cope with wireless, I've no idea. But and I will start talking about tonight's conversations. Ben says, well, now people want to know, look up stuff about moving for the movie. Yeah, I read that, Ben. I just kind of like because I am reading it, but kind of like reading it without saying it. Okay. Yeah. If you read Halloween Kills script and then complain it's boring when you see the movie, then it's your fault. I'd agree with that, Ben. I mean, I think you've got a point there. I mean, how many people read the script to a movie? I mean, you are right. I mean, but then if I read the script of Halloween Kills and then I just read Evil Dies Tonight, Evil Dies Tonight, Evil Dies Tonight, Evil Dies Tonight, 400 people chant Evil Dies Tonight for 5 minutes, it's an exaggeration, I know. I would say we've got an issue with this script. Some fucking douchebag is chanting Evil Dies Tonight in a hospital for 5 minutes. That could be an issue. Somebody didn't pull that up and go, this is an issue. We've got some fucking dickhead chanting Evil Dies Tonight for 5 minutes, who's already an annoying character, and he's just going to be even more annoying to the general public when he starts chatting this bollocks. So you're absolutely right, Ben. Absolutely right. But unfortunately, the people who did read that script didn't get onto the fact that chant Evil Dies Tonight for 5 minutes straight is going to be extremely annoying to people, which it was, as I'm sure people in the chat will agree. But you are right. I just wish more people who read the script and, thought it through thought, this is a bit stupid. Chris says, yeah, if Manchester's in a movie, I watch the trailer once maybe, then completely black out until I see it. That's a good way to go about things. I wish I did that more, to be honest with you. I think more people should do that. Maybe not even watch the trailer full stop. I mean, I think that, in all seriousness, what you're saying, Chris, I think that's the right policy for a film you're going to go and pay money at the cinema for. Because if you're going to pay like £9, £10 or whatever the conversion rate is for America, like $13, $14, it's unfair to expect someone to just turn up at a cinema with no idea whatsoever what that film involves and just pay the money and then pay for popcorn and Coke or lemonade or whatever. If it's a film you're just gonna download or rent off or watch on Netflix, yeah, that's a perfectly reasonable take. To watch a film. I would do something similar. But yeah, I think one trailer when you're going to see a film on the cinema, I think one trailer is yeah, that's a good way to go about things. I think if it's a film maybe which you've got no idea about and you're going to watch it for free on Netflix or Amazon Prime, it probably is a good idea to just go completely blind and just watch the film. Because at the end of the day, what's it costing you? It's costing you your £10 a month or £8 a month or $10, whatever it is, subscription free, and it's not costing you that much. It's totally different to like going to the cinema and paying out, that amount of money in one day, what you're usually paying in a month. But yeah, Jess says, yeah, I don't want a trailer to give away too much, but a lot do. If a movie is coming out that I already know I want to see, I won't watch more. I won't watch more than a teaser trailer anyway. It's definitely the way to go about things, I think. Ben says, yeah, like I say, like I didn't see the trailer of it about Halloween Kills when it came out, so I was surprised to see that the 3 kids on all Loomis. I didn't know the fireman. Yeah, the fireman scene is. Yeah, the fireman scene is a little bit over the top for my liking. I mean, that is kind of front and center of the trailer. I think you probably did the best thing by not going into the film, seeing that scene, because it was a bit too much, a little, maybe in my opinion. Anyway, let's I'm 15 minutes in, so I think it's about time to start going to tonight's topics. And the first talking point is, you know what? I don't even think you guys are going to be too interested in this, but I won't spend too long on it. But it's a show that I invested, 8 hours of my life into, which was the I Know What You Did Last Summer Amazon Prime TV show. which was cancelled, I think, in January. They dropped season 1 in 2021. Nobody talked about this TV show. Nobody gave a shit about it. It came, it went, and nobody really cared. I watched it. I'm a big fan of the original film and the sequel. Not the third. I've never even seen the third film, but I like the first film. The second film I like to a point, but not in the way I like the first film. But I was fairly excited when the announcement that they were dropping a TV show. I just thought, I know what we did last summer is like, in terms of iconic 90s movies, behind Scream, this is kind of like the iconic franchise of the 90s. And it's, okay, don't get me wrong, it's in no way is this on a par with the franchises of the 80s, the big three. But in the 90s, what did we have really in terms of franchises? We had Scream, Urban Legend was one film, okay, and then two films dropped in the following decade. So in terms of the 90s, we had Scream. The Friday the 13th franchise was dead in the water at this point. We had Jason Goes to Hell and then nothing. The Nightmare on Elm Street franchise was, what was that? Freddy's Dead, which was an abomination. And then we had New Nightmare, which I love, but you can't really lump it into the whole. That was its own thing. In terms of like starting a new franchise, Scream, and then I know we did last summer, they were like the big two of the 90s. And okay, yeah, like I say, I know we did last summer, it was not a big deal compared to Scream, and certainly not compared to what went on in the 80s. But at that time, we didn't really have that much. So I was really down for like, a TV show based on that IP. And I love the original I know we did last summer. I think it's not perfect in any way, but I love the setting. I like the characters. The kind of like douchebag characters, the kind of like rich kids, and they are like a bit, nauseating. And I think I found that at the time. But I think with the issue, maybe with the TV show, is me moving forward as like someone in my 40s now, is they've basically taken the characters from the original film and they've been transplanted into 2021, and they're probably not that much different from the characters from the 1997 original. But it's because social media and technology and everything that goes with being a young person, they're so much more annoying now to me, and maybe they're not. It could be just me, but maybe because I'll say I'm getting older, but annoying young people in the late 90s, which I was in the late 90s, like a young person in like early 20s. The people I know we did last summer in 1997, 98, they were annoying young people, but it's been taken to the next level now because I think like with social media and the internet, like young people now and I don't mean all young people, I mean people of that like ilk, that's just like rich kid, bratty sort of like look at me, narcissistic personality, young people who were like that kind of character in I Know What We Did Last Summer in 97. You transplant that personality to 2021 and it's just that on steroids, It's like that character, that personality is just so unbearable. It's so nauseating that it's so off-putting to people from my perspective. It's almost unwatchable. And I understand that, like, this is how a lot of young people operate these days. But for someone like me who just grew up in a different time, which wasn't even that long ago, but is pre-internet, it's just difficult for me to like sort of get on board with the way they are. And it's not to say I can't get on board with like every, I'm perfectly on board with a lot of like new TV shows and new movies, but it's like if I noticed last summer the TV show, it's like they made them the most unlikable, nauseatingly vain, pretentious, self-indulgent people possible. It just made it impossible for like someone of my age group to like really like connect with them. So for that reason, I just checked out after like 5 episodes. I think it went on for about 8 episodes. Um, I don't know how the show transpired, who was the killer, how it ended up. I don't really care. It's been cancelled now. Amazon Prime. I've just decided no, we're not going to carry on. I mean, go figure. I mean, they obviously decided it wasn't worth going into production for the second series. I'm just going to jump back in the comments briefly, and I will go on to like just a few thoughts about the whole streaming service. And it's something I've said before about streaming, and where they go with streaming and how they go about putting their product across. But so I think I'm up to point now. So Ben says, I watched the show. I didn't actually hate it until the last episode when they had the twist. I mean, they always do. Obviously, sometimes a twist isn't always beneficial. Chris says, I watched the first couple of episodes. Always meant to go back to it, and this never happened. Yeah, you're not missing much. To be honest with you, you're not missing much. It's really not worth it. I like the whodunit formula being turned into a series, though. I actually like the first and third season of Scream. I've not seen the Scream TV show, to be fair. I probably should check it out, maybe. James says, I know what you did last summer, Jamie. Good to see you on board, Jamie. Thank you for being on board. Yeah, we're talking about the I Know What You Did Last Summer TV show, which has been cancelled, and I'm not a big fan of, and I think I don't think a lot of people are a big fan of this show. So kind of staying on the same format, but the reason I brought up the I Know What We Did Last Summer show is this whole idea of streaming versus dropping a show in one go. Because obviously, take a show like Stranger Things. First 3 seasons, they've dropped it in one go. All 8 episodes, all ready to watch, all ready to go. A show that's loved by millions and millions of people around the world. A show that would be debated about on internet chat rooms. Is that still a thing? You know what I mean? Or Facebook groups, or Reddit groups, or Twitter. A show that would, if they drop one episode a week, would be debated and discussed about, by millions of people every week, and there'd be the build up to the next episode. A show that would really raise interest in Netflix and the show, and would build up like that sort of it would really build up the hype, not only for the show but also for Netflix as a streaming service. Okay, everybody knows about Netflix. We all know about Netflix, but people who aren't on Netflix, if a show like Stranger Things, which is one of the biggest IPs, if something like that is a weekly episodic event, and it's people discussing that through social media and through the internet over the course of time, that just permeates through everything, and it starts rising up, and then people who've got no interest in, like, maybe certainly got no interest in Stranger Things or subscribing to Netflix, if that starts going through I'm trying to find the right words. Basically, the internet is run through advertising, and something like Stranger Things, which if it drops in one go, it's done, dusted. People talk about it, and then you move on to the next thing. if you drop a show weekly, like Game of Thrones did, and I've mentioned this in a previous stream, it builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. Game of Thrones ended up being the biggest show on the planet. It wouldn't have been the biggest show on the planet if it had just dropped on Netflix one season at a time and just ended, within 6 hours. That's basically what Netflix do. They create a TV show and they can make a show massive, but they can also bury a show. So Stranger Things was something that was lucky in that, it kind of transcended, the normal streaming service TV show, and it became just this big thing. But how many TV shows on Netflix or other streaming services where they just drop it in one go, how many of them just get buried and never really gain the attention they deserve? And I think that's the point I'm trying to make with I Know What You Did Last Summer. Strangely enough, it's like a show like I Know What You Did Last Summer would have been more suited because it's not the greatest TV show of all time. It's not particularly well written, well acted, unlikable characters. But that's the sort of show that would have benefited from having characters that would the sort of show that would have benefited from being dropped in one go to be binge watched over a weekend or one night or 1 week, where they may not be too invested in it, but it's that sort of show where I'm not particularly enjoying it, but I'm 3 episodes in, there's five episodes to go. I'm just going to binge watch it because why not? What else am I going to do for the rest of the day? But when you drop it weekly, it's like if the first episode doesn't grab you, or the second episode, if the second episode doesn't grab you, you're just going to check out. Now, for shows like Stranger Things, which they do drop in one go, they've got I mean, I'm talking expert. I mean, for me personally, I love the Stranger Things show apart from season 3. I think even that is far better than I Know What We Did Last Summer. But the first 2 seasons of Stranger Things, and certainly season 1, if I watched the first episode of season 1, if they didn't drop episode 2 immediately afterwards, I'd be like, what time is episode 2 dropping? I want to see more of this show. So if you drop a show which is engaging and well written and well acted, you can absolutely put it out on a weekly format. But if you've got a dog shit show like I Know What We Did Last Summer, just drop it in one go. It's probably for the best. It's probably I'd imagine financially it would make more sense because who's watching this show once word of mouth gets out that this show is terrible? Social media is not that fast. If you drop it on the first day, if you're 3 episodes in, social media isn't that quick. You could just watch the other 5 and go, oh, that was terrible. Why didn't social media tell me this was terrible? And I'd be like, oh, because it just dropped today. That's just the way I look at it. I mean, there's an argument for streaming services to put everything out in one day, and then there's an argument to put it out on a weekly basis. I think there's room for everything. Obviously, there's always the arguments. If you love a show, you want to watch it in one hit. As in people like Stranger Things, they just want to watch it in one go. But I think if you're a fan of Stranger Things, if you really want this to become an even bigger deal, and I'm talking, it's already a big deal. I get that, but imagine watching it in season 1, and you wanted it to get more widespread appeal. Would you not want it to go out on a weekly basis in the way of Game of Thrones, just to get that mass? I mean, it's got mass appeal. I get that, but how big could it have been with the Game of Thrones effect? People in bars and restaurants and around the world watching it all in one go. That final episode of season 1. we'll never know. So, so Jamie says, I didn't even know they made a show for that. They'll suck anything, try it. Yes, that was a comment I was actually going to make a point about that in a while, about, streaming services, and they will take anything. Just give me 5 seconds. My dog is scratching at the door and she wants to get into the living room. So bear with me. I'll be 2 seconds. Sorry about that. Yeah, my dog she wants to get in. Chris says, I prefer weekly episodes. I miss appointment TV. Yeah, I mean, it still exists to a point, but I think most people now in 2022, people are just watching on demand, watching streaming. TV does miss that, like, sort of like, I mean, I remember back in the day, man. Like, I remember, like, I'm that old that I remember, like, Dallas was. I mean, you guys, you're in the States, man, so you'll know Dallas. Dallas was huge in the UK. Oh my god, it was like, and this is a little bit before my time, but the Dallas. This is way before my time. Like 1980, you guys will know the famous scene there. Who Shot JR? That episode in the UK was watched by about 25 million people. 25 million people. Think about that. The population of Britain in 1980 was about 50 million, 55 million. So, like, what, 45% of the population of the country were watching that episode of Dallas. It's insane. You'll never get those numbers again. You'll never get that collective sort of. Can you imagine, like, if, because obviously we're so scattered now with social media. So if anything does go live, if we're watching something live together, you haven't really got that mass connection. We have to a point, but can you imagine, like, if social media existed in 1980, and let's just say you were in the UK in 1980, and you were watching, like, that episode of Dallas, and there's 25 million people watching that episode, and all 25 million people had the smartphone, and they all had Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. Can you imagine just the utter insanity of that? Because, I mean, we've all got, like, smartphones now. We've all got, social media, but we're all spread out across, all these different types of, what we're into. But some of it into, like, this, that, and the other. But imagine a time back when we're all limited to what we were into. And imagine, like, condensing that and then adding social media to the mix. Oh my God, that would be fucking insane. Dan's in the chat. What's up, Dan? Good to see you on board, man. I'm a shit. I said earlier on, it's a shit. I really wanted to jump onto Lawrence community stream. The feedback was just insane. I jumped in and the feedback was just, I'm just getting just crazy feedback. And I just jumped out. I don't know what was going on. I think, I don't know, I'm partly responding. Obviously, there was an issue with the echoing, but I don't know if I made things even worse when I jumped on, because I don't know. It's just like, yeah, I mean, but it's a shame, because I really would have wanted to jump on and talk to you guys, but, it is what it is. Chris says, yeah, shows back in the day had time to build your loyalty. Now they kind of have to blow their load every episode so people don't bail. Yeah, I mean, you don't really get. It almost feels like now, mind you, I suppose it's always been a thing, really, where you drop this sort of big teaser at the end of every episode, and I suppose TV shows have always done that, but maybe it's become more prevalent now. You've just got to have this big tease, big build up to just hook you into the next episode. But yeah, I get that. Yeah. Oh, by the way, if anybody's not liked tonight's stream, please leave a like, because last stream got 15 likes, and I think the previous it got like 5. So I think I may have forgot to mention about liking the stream. Whether it does any good, I don't know. Probably at this level of this level of YouTube, it probably doesn't make any difference. But who knows? Any little alterations to the algorithm to get this stream, somewhere else, that makes a big difference. Anthony's on board. What's up, Anthony? Anthony, what's up going on? Geordie boy Anthony. Hope it's all good in Newcastle, man. Always look forward to when Shudder drops a Creepshow episode. I've not seen the latest 2 seasons of Creepshow. Hand up, I need to get on board. I watched the first season of Creepshow and I wasn't overwhelmed by it, and I think that's what's just put me off. I thought the I know Creepshow, the 80s Creepshows 1 and 2, they were never about like big budget, it was always about the storyline. But the budget for Creepshow, the first season, it just seemed really underwhelming to me. I was just a bit underwhelmed by like the level of money they put into it, and it felt really, really cheap. And I liked a few of the episodes. I liked, obviously the Halloween, the haunted. Is it like the dead? The kids who go around trick or treating. From what I remember about it, the head in the house. Loved that episode. I mean, well, that one. And I really like the guy who he keeps on drinking, and he just becomes taken over by the alcohol. I like that. But yeah, I mean, I do need to. I do need to like check out season 2 and season 3, because if there's at least a couple of episodes on par with Head in the House, then it's definitely worth checking out. It's just, for me, a lot of it was just late. I thought a lot of it was lazy writing. I didn't like a lot of it. I thought it was just lazy. I thought it was cheap. But, that's just me, Ben says cliffhangers don't work if you can watch next episode right away. Yeah, well, yeah, you're right there, Ben. You made, you know what though, Ben, you made a good point there, because going back to like a show that I adored back in the 2000s was Lost. Now, forget like the final season, what the fuck, what was all this about? And it did go off on a tangent, and it did go a bit daft. The first 3 seasons of Lost, I mean, I was well invested in Lost back in the day. And like you say, you're right though, but every episode there'd be, if it wasn't a big cliffhanger, it'd be like a minor cliffhanger, and it'd suck you into like the following week, in a really, really good, in the best way possible. And I mean, you're right in that way. Like Lost now in 2022, if it was just a streaming show where you'd immediately go into the next episode, what? There's no build up then, is there? It's gone. I mean, so yeah. I mean, good point. That actually, I've never really looked at it that way. I suppose, yeah. That's a really good point. Cliff Boo says, "Hey Dan." Dan says Game of Thrones starts to decline a bit, but I actually like the ending. I've never really been a Game of Thrones guy, to be honest with you. It's just not been my thing. Mikey says, hello, Mike. What's up, Mikey? Good to see you on board, man. I'm sending love from Houston. Trucker, good man. And hello, YouTube. It's your favourite American local champion from South. Oh, I thought you're from Houston. Sorry, Mikey. Why did I think you were from Houston? South Georgia? Okay. I met Larry Hagman in Dallas. Never Dallas fan. Oh, Larry Hagman's a legend, man. Larry Hagman is a. Can you imagine Larry Hagman now? Larry Hagman, hard drinking, probably a hard smoking, alpha male. Can you imagine him? Can you imagine Larry Hagman now in 2022, just like dealing with the fucking bullshit that we have to deal with? Oh my god, legend. Larry Hagman is a fucking legend. Some of the oh my god, some of the my jeez, my god, some of the women in Dallas in the 80s. Gee, Dan, you will know who I'm talking about because she did a bit of softcore back in the day. Deborah Shelton, and I know you know who this woman is, Dan. You must do. She was in Dallas and she played a character called Mandy Winger, but she went on in the late 80s to become like a bit of a softcore porn actress, not hardcore, just like softcore. But yeah, Deborah Shelton. My God, in Dallas as Mandy Winger, just one of the most stunningly beautiful women I've ever seen in my life. Just Dallas in the 80s, man, was OP for fucking gorgeous women. And if that's sexist, I don't give a fuck, man. I just fucking Dallas was my shit back in the day. I fucking love Dallas. It was so fucking good, man. It was just like, I mean, it's just like I just adored everything about Dallas. It was just like, it was like big guys, gorgeous women, punch outs, dirty dealings, oil, just guns, just fucking hell, man. It's just like you probably couldn't admit Dallas would be problematic now. Dallas would be extremely problematic. Dallas now would probably be, God knows. I try to think. JR would probably be. JR would be what would you? Bobby would be. I think Bobby would probably be in a relationship with another man. JR would probably be portrayed as Donald Trump. Cliff Barnes would probably be identifying as a woman. Who knows? Jesus Christ. I'm sorry. I'm going. I'm going. Let's go back to the chat. Jesus, these shows hit or miss, but a lot of it hits are worth the risk. Yeah, I agree. Hyping that. Orcs back. What's the man? Jamie, do you like Black Mirror? I do like Black Mirror, Jamie. I do like Black Mirror. It's become. Does anybody feel like Black Mirror has become like scarily prevalent in the last like 2 years since COVID? I mean, watching shit in Black Mirror, and I mean, the whole Black Mirror social credit score episode, where based on your smartphone, how you get into places. COVID, hello. Have you got COVID? You can't come into this gig. Yeah, I mean, it's just it's bizarre. It's Black Mirror is on point with a lot of stuff, man. Jesus Christ. The Evil Dead was awesome. Oh, the Evil Dead one. So sorry, I thought the Evil Dead one was awesome. What the Evil Dead film? I thought if they made the film, if they made the TV show, The Evil Dead, I was like, yeah, I understand. If you're talking about Black Mirror, definitely. Yes, definitely. It does give. My dog is just. Black Mirror is good as something Netflix. See, I've not seen the latest Black Mirror. I hope it hasn't gone all like sort of PC. I hope it stayed kind of like on point. Cliff Booth says, anyone seen the Larry Hagman directed Beware the Blob in 1972? No, but I want to see it because it sounds like the greatest thing ever. A Larry Hagman film with mentions the Blob. Jesus, I'm down for that. Dan's probably seen it. Oh, sorry, Dan. Dan, not only is Dan seen it, he's got the Blu-ray of the film, of course. Stupid. I jumped ahead. So yes, yeah, I predicted that Dan's seen it. Not only has he seen it, he's got it on Blu-ray. Of course, Dan's got it on Blu-ray. That was a. I should have predicted that, really, shouldn't I? Ash vs Evil Dead so good, Dan's quite a lot. I've not seen it. I need to see it. I've never been the biggest Evil Dead fan though, so I'm kind of like, it would take a lot to me to get invested in it. But I do need to. I really do. It was actually anti-GMG reunion. It was cool seeing the Survivor cast and time reunite. I need to get on to the next subject. The Pig Bang episode of Black Mirror still being supreme. Yeah, yeah. Enough said. I've seen about it already. Right. Okay. So next subject. Where are we up to? Oh my god, I've been going for 42 minutes. Chucky season 2. So Chucky season 2 has been given an October release date. There's not much going on this. There's talk of Glenda. Now, I'm going to be straight up now. I have not seen anything from Chucky after. Oh my god, is it? What's the fourth Chucky film from '98? Is it? Fill me in, because I'm not a Child's Play guy. What's the '98 movie? But is it Chucky? Is it? Yeah, help me out, because this is relating to Bride of Chucky. Yeah, so thank you, Chris. So I've not seen anything beyond Bride, apart from the remake. So I mean, but I did watch the Chucky TV show, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good time. And they did throw in some stuff from like later films, which I was a bit lost by. But I mean, apparently season 2 is going with the Glenda appearing from. Is that when Chucky has kids with Jennifer Tilly's character? Is that what they're going with now? I don't know. I'm just lost at this point, because I love the first film. I love the second film. The third film is okay. The fourth film, for me, no, I wasn't a big fan of, and I just checked out after that. I mean, by the time I got into the 2000s, I was like, no. But then Chucky, obviously Chucky season 1, bring Brad Dourif back voicing as a voiceover, and it just hooked me in. I just thought, going back to its roots, I thought, I'm down for that. But obviously now they're going to start working in all this stuff from like the later films, and I mean, I haven't got an issue with that. I'm going to be a bit lost, like I was with in season 1, with like bringing in these characters who are from the later films. But I got on board with it. But I mean, I think the point I was going to try and make with this is, like, I was, I try and like relay a bit of news in each stream, but I try and like add something like more than just relaying the news. And I think the point I was trying to make is, like, why is this worked? Why is this resonated with the public? Why is this being successful? Whereas I Know What We Did Last Summer failed. I mean, this just seems to have clicked with the fan base more than I Know What We Did Last Summer. And I guess I guess the point I'm trying to make is why has this resonated? And you guys, if a lot of you guys like Chucky season 1, and none of you guys seem to be even really aware of I Know What We Did Last Summer, and no one seems to have bothered watching it. And I'm just, why, you guys in the chat now, you're like me. Why did this succeed? And why did I Know What We Did Last Summer? Why did I fail? Because if you take it on a basic level of we're into, if you expand that to like the entire horror, stratosphere. I don't know. I don't know the word to use. You know, if you take us as a small group of people, and we really like Chucky, but we didn't like we did last summer. If you expand that across millions of people, what was it about Chucky that we liked, and what was it about the I Know We Did Last Summer that we just didn't take to? And I'm what was it like? Why did Chucky? Because Chucky, I don't know what it did numbers wise on the network it was on, whichever network that was. I know it wasn't on a big stream service, but it just seemed to like cross um, boundaries. It seemed to cross into a lot of like sort of like YouTube channels that I was watching. A lot of and everything I watched was positive. Nobody was like had anything negative to say about the TV show. I just and I understand why because I enjoyed it, but I don't understand why it kind of like it's not enough to be just a good show. You've got to be able to do more than that. It's for some reason it's got to like traverse other issues, and it just seems to cross over multiple boundaries to become like this really really popular show amongst our group and a wider group. And for whatever reason, I know what he did last summer with its Amazon Prime behind it, with its big money backing, and it had a more glamorous location. It probably had like better paid actors. It was just despised, and I didn't like the show. I like Chucky, but me as one person, I can't really put it into words what it was that I didn't. I can't really get it across what it was that made it so unlikable for me. Apart from maybe it was a bit, a little bit. So like the cast of characters was slightly unlikable, but I think what I'm trying to say is like on a broader scale, there's something about Chucky that really resonated with a lot of people in our community, and I don't mean our community as like just us here and like a few of 100 people. I'm talking about like thousands and thousands of people who like horror, who like this sort of this genre, who just got on board with Chucky and just went along with the ride, and it just pushed it to the point where this became a bigger show on a network that I wasn't aware of. Although I'm not in the US, so explain to me that the network it was on is that comparable to Amazon Prime? Because I've never heard of it, because obviously this is a network in the US which is not a streaming service. But let me know in the chat, is in relation to Amazon Prime, are they in anything like a comparison in terms of power and like prestige and like basically people watching? Because if it's not, then how on earth did it just become like a far bigger deal than Last House on the Left? Oh my god, I've just I know he did last. I'm like talking about I know he did last summer, and I just seen Dan's comment there about Last House on the Left, and I just started saying Last House on the Left. Sorry, I want Last House on the Left to be used as a family sitcom. Yeah, well, that would be interesting. I'm not sure that would be shown on Amazon Prime. Maybe Shudder could do that. It's a possibility. So going back to the chat. So I'm just I'm trying to go back to the chat. I didn't watch either show, says Jamie. Yeah. So on to, so I think we're done with that now. So okay, that's all over it. Yes, Screenbox looks interesting. So come Dad and Cosby. On to that was that. Talking about like the obviously I know we did last summer, and obviously Chucky. It leads nicely into just a segue into this. This is just going to be a brief. I'm just going to ask you guys in the chat if you're watching, just like what horror movies would you like to see make the jump to a TV streaming service? Take into account the entire history of horror, from way back and to the present day. Like, what do you think would make a good TV show, which has previously been a horror film? In terms of, try and be imaginative. You know what I mean? Obviously, I'm actually kind of struggling to think myself because in terms of like what makes a good TV show doesn't necessarily make a good movie and vice versa. Because obviously a lot of people would say, "Oh, would like to see a Friday the 13th TV show or a Nightmare on Elm Street TV show," but would that really translate into a TV show? I've always felt. I'll just get my one across now. So if you guys think about it, what horror movie would you like to see as a TV show in 2022 on a big streaming service? And be it as imaginative as you like. You can move away from the source material as much as you want. Just keep the name and just go with it. I've always thought, right, which is it may be suicide, it might be commercial suicide, but I always thought, something like Halloween. What a Halloween TV show set in Haddonfield, but dealing with like day to day. It's like it's a Halloween show set in like and it starts off in like January of like whatever year given, maybe January 1978, and it's just a show about like basic day to day issues, but there's all sorts of like this all sorts of weird stuff going underneath, all beneath the surface. There's all like this shenanigans going on, and there's double dealing, and there's like corrupt police, and there's like weird sort of like cults and stuff in Haddonfield, and and there's like there's men in black around and stuff, and it's just a show that builds up through the year, and it every episode is like January 78 or February 78, March, or it could be like a year in like later on. But at the end of the day, it's set in Haddonfield, and then ultimately it's basically a show about Haddonfield, but ultimately it leads to October 31st, and everything culminates in Michael Myers' release or escape, whatever, from where he's been or his return, and everything like culminates in at night. I just think that's like it's just like I really like the idea of just like basing a TV show in something that's like well established, like Haddonfield, but totally turning it on its head and just showing like a normal society of people growing up and like living their lives, but there's something on the horizon which is going to completely fuck everything up, and these people that are completely unaware, but maybe there's a few people who are aware of what's going on. That's just like my idea anyway. Anthony says urban legend TV show, different urban legend every story. That could easily be done, and you could even set it like in the university. You could have the beginning of the show just a couple of students talking about an urban legend in the university, and then it just pans out, and then it goes to tell the actual story. That's actually a really good idea. Dan says Videodrome would be intriguing right now. Get Cronenberg so involved, and he says, "Oh my god, I'm not sure who'd stream that, but my god, that Videodrome, I love Videodrome so much." And is it Brandon Cronenberg? Is it Brandon, his son? Is it He did Possessor? Gee, that Possessor was a great movie. Possessor was so good. Possessor for me was kind of like a less sexy version of The Matrix, if that makes sense. It was just, oh my god, I really, really like Possessor. It's so good. Ben says, of course, Halloween, of course. um, let's go down a little further. Darren's in the chat. What's up, Darren? How's things going in Wales? I like the urban legend. I could see Deathgasm show. I've not seen Deathgasm. Do I need to see Deathgasm? I've not seen it. Dan says, I would like to see a Hills of Ice TV show, kind of like the X-Files episode, but over 6 episodes. I mean, at this point, I mean, it's hard to see why they wouldn't just do something like that, because the streaming services now are so overloaded with like different shows. They must be constantly looking for new material to keep, to keep these streaming services viable. And why not? I mean, Hills of Eyes is one of it's not an IP that is like on the level of Scream or Nightmare on Elm Street in terms of like what Wes Craven's done, but I'm sure there'd be like somebody would want to jump on board with that. I mean, I think that's covered that. Let's move on to this is something I was really excited about. Moving away from that now. I'm sure everybody here is, if not seen, is aware of The Guest from 2014 with Dan Stevens, Mika. Is it Mika Monroe from It Follows? Oh my God, is it Mika? Is it Mika Monroe? Am I going to like check that? Oh, what's her name, man? She's in It Follows. Is it Micah Monroe? Dan will probably answer me before I even Google it. It's Micah Monroe. Yeah, Micah Monroe. So basically, some utter genius has basically made a album based on a sound. Has basically written a soundtrack. Yeah, Dan. Yeah, the Guest is a fucking amazing film. 2014 was a golden year for movies, man. Fucking golden year. Guest and the Guest and It Follows. That's what a double head. I mean, gee God, man. Talk about like if you want like a recommendation for like a back-to-back movie feature, It Follows and The Guest is just perfect. Michael Monroe, he was in both films. I just fucking love Michael Monroe. And she's also in oh my God, a film in 2017, which is an A24 film as well, which I should know. Hot Summer Nights with Timothy Chalamet. She's in that. I just everything she's in, I just love her. But yeah, some absolute geniuses like he's written a soundtrack to The Guest 2. He's put it on Spotify and all the other streaming services with completely like cover artwork for The Guest 2. The Guest 2 does not exist. The Guest 2 has not been made. The Guest 2 will probably never be made. But somebody has written a soundtrack to a film that doesn't even exist. I mean, what an absolute legend. I mean, The Guest is just a film I adore. The soundtrack I adore. I mean, oh my God, that film is it's just so good. It gives us so much great memory. It's like a 2014 film, but with an 80s vibe. And I just love that film so much. And watching that back in the day when And It Follows dropped at the same time, it's just at that point I thought, oh my God, this is like a renaissance in like movies that I like. And then I don't know, we got like this sort of like a couple of years down the line, and it all went pear shaped. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying we don't make good films now, but in 2014, I thought we were just on the cusp of a golden age, and everything like kind of turned to shit a little bit. But the point I was going to make was The Guest 2, a film that doesn't exist. Just give me 2 seconds. very professional setup I've got here. Extreme professional setup. So I hear a voice and I have to go and deal with it. Yeah, anyway. The point I was trying to make is The Guest 2. A soundtrack to a film that doesn't exist. So it got me thinking, a sequel, I don't mean a sequel, a soundtrack to a film that doesn't exist. A soundtrack to a film, to a sequel that, let me rephrase that. My God, I'm tired. Bottom line, The Guest 2 doesn't exist. Okay, I know where I'm going now. The Guest 2 doesn't exist. What movie would you like to see a sequel to that we haven't got? Now, I will paraphrase, because we all know that we get endless sequels to movies we love and they get cheapened with every concurrent release. So I'll paraphrase. If you were guaranteed a absolute solid gold, amazing sequel to a movie that you love, what movie would it be? You know, because obviously we all want another Friday the 13th movie. I'm talking about. I'll just paraphrase now. Paraphrase is not even a word. I'm talking about a film that has never had a sequel. So Friday the 13th Part 14 doesn't count. I mean, I'm talking about a film like The Guest or It Follows, or any number of films. But before you say, well, I wouldn't want a sequel to that movie because it can't be improved upon, or it would cheapen the film. If you had, if someone could guarantee you that film would be an amazing film, what would you like to see a sequel to? Because I mean, I think The Guest would be a good. The Guest is a perfect movie to get that sequel treatment, because we know Dan Stevens survives at the end of the film. The two, Michael Monroe survives, her brother survives. It's a perfect setup for a sequel. Now, do I really want to see a sequel to The Guest? Well, probably not. But if somebody said to me, and said, listen, we can guarantee this film's going to be amazing, then I'd be like, well, okay then. So I suppose that's kind of like the point I'm trying to make is, if it could be guaranteed that film would be an absolute, you would love that film so much, that would be it. Oh, Chris, yeah, I was to Malignant. Yeah, Malignant is just a batshit crazy film. Malignant deserves a sequel. Oh, Jamie. Oh my God, Event Horizon. Absolutely, Jamie. Talk about a film that doesn't get enough attention. And sorry, Big T's in the chat. Big T, what's up, man? Good to see you on board, man. I appreciate you jumping on. I'm trying to catch up with some of the chat. Okay, apparently the cover art and legs tell a story. This week, and what I am waiting to delve into is I guess these soundtracks, movies are made. Yes, it's a real thing, Ben, and it's good as well. It's really good. I mean, we're never going to get a Guest 2 probably as a movie, but there is a soundtrack to a film that doesn't exist. Idle Hands sequel. Oh my God, yes, Jesus Christ. Devon Sawa's kind of like a hot property in a way. He's not disappeared off the radar completely. He's back doing stuff. So, yes, and Jamie definitely agrees. Yeah, Devon Slackton Abidan. He did a crazy film a couple of years ago. Its name escapes me, but it was violent as hell. It's set like in the woods, where it's like family are getting tortured and shit. That was fucking brutal film, man. Big T says, I'm honestly surprised they didn't turn The Guest into a Who's It. That movie definitely has legs to go as a franchise. And Anthony says, I want Hellfest sequel. Oh my God, the Hellfest is gorgeous, glorious film. I think Christian tweeted out about the Funhouse. I don't know if he just bought the 4K or something along those lines, but I think I just replied. It might not have been Christian. It was somebody anyway on Twitter. And I just said, I did. Oh no, it was Christian. And I just made the point, like, I thought the pacing of Funhouse was slow, and I didn't like the characters. And I just said I thought Hellfest was a far better film. And I just think Hellfest is just Hellfest and Haunt. If you want, like, if when it's getting towards October, and you want a couple of, like, extreme haunted house flicks to watch, Hellfest, Haunt, and throw in the Houses October Built as well. That's like a triple bill there. It's just like, I mean, the first two especially, Haunt and Hellfest, are just so good. And the Houses October Built as well. It's not on that level, but it's still enjoyable. And then obviously throw in Hell House LLC as well. Jesus Christ, when it comes to, like, Halloween, like, so, like, that's just like movies of that ilk, like that. So, like, a movie you want to watch around, like, Halloween time, you just spoil for choice. You can't watch it. You can't watch them in April. You can't watch these films in April. They've got to be. They're October films. But I would love to see an update sequel for The Burning, but sadly too much time's passed. Yes, I mean, the Burning is a classic, absolute classic. I think I've mentioned The Burning actually. I think I did actually mention a couple of films. I was making notes for the stream. Of what I basically said was a sequel to It Follows. Obviously, It Follows is just so fucking good. It's got its flaws, but my God, the pros outweigh the cons. The Guest, and The Burning, Trick or Treat. Another one, Brightburn. If anybody hasn't seen Brightburn, watch Brightburn. Is just it's one of those films. I think Brightburn is going to kind of be like, in a few years' time, is going to kind of be considered like, one of those films that gets a cult following because it's such a strange little film. It's, if anybody is not aware of Brightburn, it's kind of almost like a MCU or a DCU for, like, the horror franchise, and it's something completely new to my knowledge. I mean, as far as I'm aware, there's no backstory to it. They basically, it's basically a play on the Superman story. A couple who can't have kids. Spaceship lands on their farm, and a baby turns up. They adopt the baby, but the baby is not all good and, like, the savior of mankind, and he's evil as hell, and will just kill everyone. And the way the film plays out, it's kind of like a slow build, but it cranks up, and there's some really, really gory sequences in that film. I mean, there's a scene with, like, a broken jaw, and then there's, like, a scene where, a shard of glass goes into a woman's eye, and it's really, really graphic, and it's kind of like got like PG-13 elements with, like, a rated R, feel to it as well, because this is not a PG-13 film or a 12A film if you're in the UK like I am. But at the end of the film, the end credits, they can't. And James Gunn's involved in this film as well. So James Gunn obviously is, a big name. So he's got a lot of influence. So maybe this can be, move forward as a universe. But at the end sequence, they tease, the possibility that other, kids or people with the same powers as the kid in Brightburn. And this thing was like 2018, so it's taking into account COVID. Maybe this will just end now with Brightburn, but hopefully they can, like, create, an alternative to the MCU with, like, imagine like an alternative to the MCU with, like, a universe of, like, creepy kids with special powers, with goodies and baddies. We need something different. I mean, I was going to mention Morbius, because Morbius is kind of like, it's not bombed at the box office. It's done fairly well, but the reviews of Morbius have been absolutely horrendous. I mean, I've very rarely seen reviews as bad as this for any mainstream not horror movie, for any superhero movie, Marvel, DC, you name it. It's been absolutely just torn to pieces. But I'll talk about Morbius. I'll just go back to the chat and just see what I've missed. Dan says Bloodfest is another good one. I've not seen Bloodfest, so I will have to check that out. I'll make a note of that one later on. James says The Burning is a kind of remake. I love The Burning. The Burning is like, I've asked this question before. I think I've asked this question on Region 3, or maybe one of Pizza streams, but you guys in the chat, if The Burning, it's always a good question to ask. If The Burning was a Friday the 13th movie, whereabouts in your ranking would you put it? Because I would put it, if The Burning, okay, we know it's not, but let's just say figuratively, how many Friday the 13th films would you place ahead of it as opposed to behind it? Because for me, I would put part 4, part 6, maybe part 2 ahead of it. And I think after that, I'd put The Burning, and then every other Friday the 13th film after that. So I might put The Burning at part 4, at 4th. I just think it's such a good. I think it's that good a film. Yeah, Chris says he loves Brightburn. Yeah, Ben likes. Yeah, but Brightburn gets a lot of love. And he says more Wishmaster. Anyone love the first? I love the first Wishmaster. The first Wishmaster is just. I love that movie. It's so cheesy. It's so like fun. Just the inventive ways in which he kills people. It's just like when he's trying to get into. It's been a long time since I've seen the film, but he's trying to get into, like, there's like a security guard like blocking him from getting into something, like a building. I can't remember. And he goes, "You'd have to walk right through me, and I'd love to see that." And when he says, "I'd love to see that," he just smiles, and he knows that that's like permission. He just turns and he just walks through him, and it's so good. Yeah, I would need to see. Yeah, back. Yeah, yes, definitely. I mean, I don't know how old he is now. He's probably like 70, maybe. Ben says Brightburn connects to James Gunn's Super movie. I've not seen Super. I saw that mentioned online. I've not seen Super, but they need to get a move on if they're going to connect all the dots. That really needs to get on, push this forward, because if you leave it too long, people are just going to forget and lose interest. But at the minute, I'm totally on board for like anything like that. Darren says, yes, I have not seen this film yet, and I am trying to see it, but I've no idea who's streaming this, Darren. Because I really want to see this film, but I've no idea who's streaming it or where you can even access this film. Because I saw this film, I think it was on Bloody Disgusting about 3 or 4 months ago, and I thought this looks like the sort of film I really enjoy, but I've no idea how to access it. Is it Shudder? Is it Amazon Prime? Is it Netflix? Because I am not. I do one at a time, so I go from Shudder to Netflix to Amazon Prime. I never do more than one because it's too expensive. And if you live in the UK, if anybody has got any idea what it's like to the cost of electricity and gas at the minute is so high that we are really, really struggling to, we just can't. I mean, I personally, I can't afford to be buying multiple streaming services because it's so expensive at the minute. It's just pay for petrol is just ridiculous, and I know you guys in the US have got it the same, like gas, petrol, whatever you want to call it. Jesus Christ, it's like £1 for me to £1.70 to put petrol in my £1.70 a litre in the UK. I mean, I don't know what it's like. I know it's bad in America as well. It's just ridiculous, man. Right. Oh, Dan says last man is a fun shit. I knew it was South American. But still waiting to see. I still don't know how to see it though, because I'm still waiting for Darren to reply. Big T says you definitely see where Sony's going with these movies. Obviously, they're building up to the Sinister Six, but they've got to give us a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, I'm just a bit overwhelmed now with superhero movies. I just think the end is nigh for superhero movies. I think Darren says I would put The Burning above any Friday film. The original would be close second. That's a big statement, Darren. I admire the cojones there, man, because I think a lot of people would probably say, well, they take the easy route and say, well, it's probably like third or fourth, which is what I did. But that's what I genuinely think. I do like 4 and 6 of Friday better than The Burning, but I mean, it's such a well-respected slasher film. I mean, without it just suffers from not having that name recognition of Friday or Halloween. If this was a part of a big franchise, this film would be. It's like it's a shame that it's not on the level of Black Christmas. I think because Black Christmas is obviously through the internet over time has gained this massive recognition now, obviously with 2 remakes. A lot of it came from the fact that it came out in 74 and was pre-Halloween, so kind of gained a lot of recognition as being influential on Halloween. With The Burning, even though it's an amazing film, because it came out in 81 or 80, I think it was 81, it was in that there's a massive wave of movies that came out in 81. It kind of got lost in the shuffle. So as good as it is, it's kind of just it kind of at the time got lost, and then subsequently it's gained a big following. It's just not big enough to really get that sort of treatment of a remake or a second remake. But you know what, looking at Black Christmas, it's probably for the best. I mean, God, imagine what was the Black Christmas 2019 remake? The Burning, a 2019 remake? Jesus, I dread to think. Chris says definitely top 10, maybe around 6 or 7. Arrow streaming. Oh, so Arrow. So it's Arrow basically. Arrow streaming. Oh, thanks for the damn. Okay, now we're done with that. I think I'm more or less done. I've got a couple of things. More or less done. Just a couple of things. I was going to briefly mention Morbius because, Morbius has tanked. Just a couple of things that irritate me about not the film so much, but Jared Leto, who, I mean, he's an urban legend. I like Jared Leto for the fact that he's an urban legend. One of my favourite 90s slasher films. Love urban legend. Like Jared Leto, just for the fact that he's Requiem for a Dream. Love that film. But he just comes across as one of these really pretentious, artsy-fartsy, I'm an actor, I'm important, I do this, I do that. And apparently on the set of Morbius, he was acting all pretentious and he was doing his Daniel Day-Lewis nonsense. I mean, I'll forgive Daniel Day-Lewis for doing it on the set of Lincoln or whatever he was doing, because Daniel Day-Lewis is Daniel Day-Lewis. And he was probably going to get an Oscar for it. Jared Leto was doing this for Morbius, acting like an absolute prick, apparently, just walking around with a walking stick and getting in wheelchairs because he wants to stay in character. Why are you doing that for like some fucking dog shit fucking Marvel film? You're not going to win an Oscar. Nobody's impressed. Nobody gives a shit. You're just coming across like an absolute prick. I mean, I'm not keen on anybody doing it. I mean, even Daniel Day-Lewis, I just think it comes across as really, really pretentious. It just shows a lack of. It just shows you're out of touch with reality. You're out of touch with like normal people. There's a great. I completely obviously I've stole it because it's not my quote, but there's a great quote by Laurence Olivier, old school actor, from the olden days, and he was talking to Dustin Hoffman, I think he was doing Marathon Man at the time, and Dustin Hoffman was like talking about how he got into character and how he wouldn't do this, he wouldn't do that when he was in between filming. And Laurence Olivier I've got the quote. Laurence Olivier just went in his very, 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 very posh, very, very posh English accent. He went, "My dear boy, why don't you just try acting?" It's just like, I just thought that was really funny. It's just like Laurence Olivier, this Sir Laurence Olivier, Oscar winner, Knight of the Realm. He just said to Dustin Hoffman, who was just like this young actor at the time, "What are you doing, mate? It's just acting. You don't have to be this fucking stupid, pretentious prick." I just thought that was really funny. Ben says, "I heard Morbius had an 80-minute. It's done well. Apparently, it's done, despite the bad reviews. Morbius is doing pretty well. It's not going to do anything like. I don't think it's going to do what Venom did. Obviously, it's not going to do what Spider-Man did, but it's done easily. It's easily going to break. It's what it costs to make. I mean, that's a given, but." Yeah, I mean that just says something for the power of superhero movies. I mean, that was a point I was going to make. It's in my notes here, the demise of superhero movies. That segues nicely into like this last topic, or second to last topic I was going to talk about. When do we predict the death of superhero movies? And it's a serious question. Like, you guys, at what point do we think this gravy train is going to end? Because this has been going realistically, it's been going for like 15 years. I mean, let's just start with like, let's pre-Iron Man, Superman Returns, which was a Superman film, was nothing like a major deal. We had Batman. Yeah, we did have Batman Begins. That was 2005. So I suppose we could go back to Batman Begins. But in terms of like an event, like a major event, it began with Marvel. Really, I would say. In terms of like this whole idea of like opening weekend, you've got to see this film. I mean, Spider-Man 2002 was a big deal, but it never felt more than. It was just a one-off because that's what it was. Once Iron Man kicked in, and then once we got towards the first Avengers film in 2012, I think that's when it really started to gain just like a groundswell of like popularity in terms of like you have to go to the cinema to see this film. This is like a big deal. You need to see these movies, and it's like the connective universe, and the end credit. Just you need to go. You need to see the end sequence, because if you don't see the end credits or you don't see the mid-credit sequence, you're behind on what's going on. And I just think that like this has been going on for 15 years now, more or less. And I'm just wondering, like, at what point is the whole Marvel DC effect going to start to wane? Will it wane? Has it started now with? I mean, I think Doctor Strange. There's a lot riding on Doctor Strange because the Eternals and Shang-Chi didn't really do major box office, to my knowledge. So I think a lot's resting on Doctor Strange, which I think will do really well. And obviously Spider-Man did massive numbers as well. My God, that did. But I think it goes to show that the people like, they want a recognizable, hero. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons Eternals and Shang-Chi failed is like they brought these characters in and they just shoehorned them in with little introduction of who they are, and people weren't interested. You take your established characters, you give them a build up, you bring them in slowly, gradually, and then when you drop them into a major film, you get people on board. And obviously, Spider-Man was just going to be a big hit anyway. But Doctor Strange was introduced, I think before the main Doctor Strange movie, and obviously we've had like 5 or 6 years since the previous film, and obviously he's been in the Avengers film since, so this is going to be a big hit as well. I think that's one of the failures of, Shang-Chi and the Eternals. People just didn't know who these characters were. I didn't care. But, I think Doctor Strange is a lot rides on Doctor Strange for Marvel, because I know obviously that Spider-Man did well, but Sony took a lot of that money because Sony own the majority of the rights to that Spider-Man character. So I think, Marvel need a big hit out of Doctor Strange, but I think it will be a hit. I think it'll be a big hit. Big T says the biggest problem with the Morbius movie is that it needed a cameo by Venom in the absolute worst way. All these standalone movies are going to do is now need a Tom Hardy appearance. Especially with Morbius, because like, how many people know about Morbius really? Like, I don't know who Morbius is. No idea. I'm not a big. I mean, if you're a die-hard comic book fan, maybe you'll know who Morbius is, but I don't know who Morbius is. I never knew who Venom was, but over the course of time, I've grown to know more about the character through, Spider-Man 3 and obviously the Tom Hardy movies. Chris says, it just feels like everything that's made me sad last me is the film. It's a good point. Dan says, I'm ready for that age to it. Yes, Dan, absolutely. It will happen. It'll happen soon, I think. I thought Morbius was just okay, but also the same about Venom, says Ben. Yeah, Venom was, I liked Venom, the first Venom film. I thought that was decent. I thought the second one was just absolutely atrocious. I fell asleep. And it's a 90-minute movie, and I fell asleep. Like, I never fall asleep in a 90-minute movie usually. I do fall asleep quite often in movies because it's just like when you get those comfy seats and you just put the feet up. But yeah, I mean, I shouldn't be falling asleep in a 90-minute movie, but I did for Venom 2. Dan says, if any of you guys want to have fun, go to the Stabby Time post on Twitter comparing Jada Pinkett's opinion. I have seen that, Dan. But yes, I have seen that. And he says, I would like to see more Marvel or DC horror films, but only if they get it right and don't balls it up, which is unlikely, Anthony. Highly unlikely. I don't mind New Mutants. Yes. That's not actually too bad, actually, I would say. Big T says, see with these new standalone hero movies that Marvel is doing, they need to have at least one cameo by one of the major league players in order to give care the standalone flicks. Don't do it anymore. Well, that's what they used to do. I mean, the whole point of with Marvel, what they have done, to be fair, what Marvel have done in the past is, they have slowly introduced characters into the franchise over time and given us a little bit of a backstory, and then dropped the film and then given us more to like about the character, and then throw them into like a shared universe sort of setting. The way they did with Thor and, Doctor Strange and like obviously Iron Man was dropped on us early on, but, Iron Man, they gave us 2 films before they dropped the new event, they dropped the first Avengers film. I just think when Marvel did it for the first 10 years, was just like, they just got it right. Not every film was perfect, far from it, but in terms of like the wider universe, those first 10 years from Iron Man to Endgame, I think it's not even 10 years, it's more like 12 years probably, or 11 years. They got it just right. DC never really understood that. DC was just far too messed up from the beginning. They didn't give Superman or Batman enough time to grow as characters before they threw them together. And then they just started throwing other characters into the mix and bring them all. I mean, they're Justice League, which, you know, obviously there is a 3.5 hour cut, which is a lot better, but their cinematic Justice League was just, that was their, like, it was kind of like their Avengers, and it was just rushed, and it didn't feel, you know, they thought, you know, we got characters who we'd never even seen before, and characters who we only seen in like one movie. Whereas with the Avengers, they spent more time just bringing characters in, and it was just a lot more time and care was spent with the first Avengers film than, you know, the Justice League movie. And the Justice League movie, you know, the longer take, is a better film for it. But unfortunately, you know, people didn't see that on the cinema. Slasher Home Video says, Slasher Chris, sorry. I struggle with comic book movies because I don't read them. I can watch one and think that was pretty fun, everyone hates it. Yes, yeah. I mean, I'm not even a big. I mean, literally, I am the kind of like the. When it comes to comic book movies, I am the sort of like the average Joe, so to speak, you know. But that's the sort of person they're aiming at, because I am not a comic. I don't read comic books. I never have done. So if you can get my money to go and watch a comic book movie, you've done your job well, because I didn't go and watch Morbius. I watched Spider-Man No Way Home. Why did I watch No Way Home and I didn't watch Morbius? What did you do that got me to go and watch that film that you didn't do for Morbius? See, I'm the sort of person you should be aiming the marketing at, and I'm not going to say you should be aiming the storyline at so much. Like, I'm not saying you should aim the storyline and the plot at like new normies, like I am when it comes to comic books. But there's got to be like a kind of like, you know, a middle ground where, you know, you appeal to like the hardcore fans and you appeal to the normies. I think that's what you've got to aim for. I think that's what the issue is with like with a lot, anything where there's the hardcore fan base, which is like Marvel and DC. The hardcore fan base always wants everything to be perfectly represented in the movies as they are in the comics, but the normies don't really care, and it probably wouldn't like appeal to them that much. But unfortunately, the movie companies, but the problem they've got is the big money is in the movies, so they've got like this. They've got to kind of like balance keeping the hardcore fans happy, who like are comic book fans, but also appealing to the mainstream audience. And I suppose that's a difficult thing to do. So yeah, but I mean, maybe that's where, you know, I find the final topic now. Final topic. Maybe this is where I'm coming up with like length of movies, because I've been going for 1 hour 40, which is longer than I thought to be going for. Before I go into the very last topic, Big T, instead of trying to make a cinematic universe for the Universal Monsters, why don't they make a new TV series for these characters with an old school feel? Why not? I mean, there's that many streaming services now. They're making streaming services. They're making TV shows for everything. Why not just go that route? I mean, it's probably, would it financially, would it not make more sense? And Dan says, I will vote for Piss. I already voted Piss for Best Podcast. Yes. And anyone who hasn't voted, I don't know where you can vote. Maybe if Dan can leave the link. If Dan can leave the link down below, or through Twitter, maybe. Yeah. Piss is up for Best Podcast on, well, I get voted through Twitter. I don't know where else you can vote, but yeah. Jonathan votes. Jonathan? Yes. I concur. Everybody smash that like button. Thank you, Jonathan. Yes, smash that like button, guys, because I think I got 15 likes on the last video, which was probably like the most likes I've ever got in a video. I don't know whether it makes any difference to the algorithm. Probably not at this level, but who cares? So I've been going for like 1 hour 40. So going into the last topic now, which is basically um, Jurassic World Dominion is dropping. I don't know when it's dropping. It's obviously going to be dropping in the summer sometime. It's going to be 2.5 hours long. So it's going to be the longest Jurassic Park film yet. And it's just an issue. It's just something that I think we brought up on. I think it was like Piz's last Patreon stream or the one before it. Which I think we're talking about the Batman. And like the Batman's only 3 hours long. And I think I just said to Piz, I said, why do we need a 3 hour movie for a superhero film? So, and like he said, yeah. I mean, he said, I don't know where this came, how this originated, but it's just it feels like that. Like what happened to the good old days when you could tell a story in 2 hours? You know, some of these classic films from the 80s, which you love as kids, which feel like probably feel longer than what they were. You know, and you watch them back and they're like 1 hour 50, 1 hour 55, 1 hour 45, 2 hours, maybe 2 hours 10 tops. Jurassic World Dominion is going to be 2.5 hours long. I mean, this is on top of the fact that the Batman is like 3 hours long. And you know, obviously, Endgame was 3 hours long. Infinity War was 2 hours 40. It's like a lot of these movies now. They feel they need to like crank out like a movie that's like 150 minutes. I don't really understand the need. Something like Endgame, I could probably forgive 2.5 hours running time, not 3 hours. I think that's a bit too long. Infinity War, I think it was 240. Infinity War's a far better film than Endgame anyway, so I'll definitely forgive them that. Yeah, Infinity War's way better than Endgame. Anyone that disagrees, well, we'll just agree to disagree. But um, Jurassic World Dominion, 2.5 hours. Does really like? How do you justify? How do you just? Can you not tell that story in 2 hours? Really, 2.5 hours. I mean, I don't even know where they're going with this film. I mean, I've not even seen the trailer. I mean, I don't want to. I've not seen the trailer for Jurassic World Dominion. Um, Obviously, at the end of the last Jurassic World film, they just let T Rexes run wild. I mean, yes, okay, the evil, money hungry guys who wanted to use them as like weapons. Obviously, they've been killed, but the ironic thing is they wanted to use like these animals as kind of like just like as a terrorist would use a bomb, but they killed the terrorists. These you know animal fucking drug dealer type. How would you call them? Not drug dealers, like dinosaur dealers, whatever you want to call them. But at the end they just let them run wild. So how many people are those dinosaurs going to kill on the way out wherever they're going to go? I mean, it's like yeah. Well, we can't. We're going to kill him because we're going to like try and we're going to stop him doing what he's doing because it's evil and because it's abusing the dinosaurs. But then they just let the dinosaurs run free, and a T Rex is going to kill how many people? Like a T Rex running wild through the United States of America, pterodactyls. I mean, it's going to be bloodshed. It's going to be carnage out there. Carnage. You know, 10-year-old kids are going to be getting their heads ripped off by pterodactyls. People getting squashed by Diplodocus. Brontosaurus is just squashing people. Well, actually, they were actually. Were they in? No, they were just wiped off. I don't think they were it. Oh, they didn't take them. Sorry. They weren't dangerous enough. You get my point. We've got T-Rexes running wild in the United States because Chris Pratt decided the evil dinosaur hunters, drug dealer types, shouldn't be allowed to keep them. But they probably would have killed less people under their control than what they've just done. I don't know. It's a crazy story. I mean, let's go back to the show. I think I'm overthinking the Jurassic World I think I think I'm overthinking the Jurassic World franchise too much. I need to stop. It's getting late. Um, yeah, Jonathan says I can get behind it for me like Endgame. Yes, definitely. Could have easily been could have probably, yeah. Chris says make to pad hours content on streaming services. Well, yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ, stream services now. I mean, the TV shows now, like the Marvel and Disney, what they're doing, Disney, Marvel, Star Wars, MCU, it does feel like the TV shows now, maybe not the Star Wars, but the Marvel shows, it's like they're just putting these shows out as a kind of a teaser for something that's going to happen next in the films, or I don't know. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of what Disney have done. I'm done with their shows. I'm done with Star Wars. I'm done with Marvel more or less. Although I probably will see Doctor Strange. I don't know. I just think it's yeah. I'm just worn out with the whole DC, MCU, Star Wars, endless films, endless TV shows. Yeah, I've had enough. I really have. Darren says, long films are okay on home video. 51 to the players not what it used to be. Oh, yes, I hear you there, man. Yeah, you don't want to be leaving the cinema seat and like trying to cross 15 people during the middle of a superhero film to go to the toilet. But that's what it's like when you're middle aged. Yeah. Horror films should definitely be a nice short 90 minutes. There's no excuse for a horror film to be anything more than an hour 50. Absolutely no excuse. There'd have to be explicit reasons for it to be like that. Anyway, I'm done now, guys. I've been going for an hour 50 nearly. Discussed quite a few topics tonight. Chat's been amazing as usual. Just go through the chat. Who's been in the chat tonight? Darren, Dan, Chris, Jonathan, Big T, Anthony, Ben, Anthony, I think I've said. Who else? I'm sure a few. Jamie was in the chat earlier on as well. Yeah, I think he's died. So was anyone at the beginning? So a consistent chat. Like Cliff Boo's in the chat, of course. But yeah, you guys have been amazing tonight, guys, as usual. You're always amazing all the time. Oh, Mike was in the chat as well earlier on. Dying Breed. Yeah, as I say, chat are amazing, man. I mean, like I think 12 people watching tonight at the most, 14 last week as well, which is like a quarter or a third of my viewing of my subscription. I think I've got like 63 subscribers. Last week I had like 14 people watching, which that's just like doesn't even make any sense. It shouldn't be 14 people if I've got 63 subscribers. That's like too many. It just shows the loyalty and the dedication and like this community. Everybody always jumps on. Do you know what I mean? Everybody's always jumping on to each other's streams, always in the chat, always promoting, always like retweeting and shit. Yeah, it's fucking great, man. Just you guys are great every week. But on that note, I'll say goodbye and I will see you next Tuesday at the same time.